All right, it's always great to have my next guest on the show. Juicy J, Julian Erosa, is back in action on September the 10th at UFC 279 when he meets Hakeem Dawodu. Julian, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Ryan. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you as always, bud. And we haven't seen you in there for a while now. February was the last fight that you had, and I did talk to you after that one. Split decision victory over Steven Peterson. I just want to ask, what has life been like for you since, man?
Oh, it's been fantastic. After that fight, all the kind of, all the positive things that came from that fight. He missed weight, so I ended up getting fight of the night, and I got his bonus as well. So it was kind of a time for me to be able to finally relax and enjoy myself for a little bit. I've been in Vegas for about 5 years, and it's been pretty nonstop. And I've been red lighting the whole time, just training, just working my butt off. And so it was finally a time where I was able to at least just relax and just kind of decompress. And so I took a couple of months and did that. I wanted to get back in a little sooner than September, but man, the UFC's been booking out, pretty far. So it is what it is. But I think it worked out good for me and Hakeem because we both fought on that same card on February 5th. Both got W's, and I figured he might be a guy that was in line for me to fight. And so we both ended up taking a little bit of time off, and I think it's like 7 or 8 months, or yeah, something like that, and we'll be able to go in there and and luckily, hopefully, it wasn't because of injury on his part. For me, it was just wanting to enjoy and decompress a little bit, and I had some other things. Me and my wife bought a house, and some other things going on personally, so it was just nice to take a little bit of time off, and then hop back on the horse.
And I obviously follow you on Instagram, and I saw a picture of you and your dog, and you guys were in at a lake or something like that, and it kind of looks a little bit like me and my wife's dog. What is the breed that you have?
She's a Maltese poodle mix. She was supposed to be a teacup, but we got her from probably not the best of people. We think that it might have been like a puppy mill, maybe. Like, after we thought about it, I think these people were just trying to sell puppies, and but she was supposed to be a teacup, but she's about 14 pounds, and I don't think teacups get that big, but we love her regardless.
Yeah, our dog's a Shih Tzu Yorkie mix, so she's a Shorkie, and she's like looks like a little Chewbacca. It's about the same size as your dog, just different color.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even a lot of those Shih Tzus kind of look like my dog as well. The Maltese poodle mixes kind of have that little bit of a Shih Tzu look to them as well. So we get her mistaken for a Shih Tzu sometimes.
Yeah, dogs are the best, man. And I also see that you're a big cycler. Is that something that you're doing routinely for cardio to just kind of stay in shape and keep your cardio up?
I'm always in pretty good shape. My cardio is pretty good. I like to do some of these long, extensive, high endurance type of things on my own because I like to tell people that, like, kind of the reasoning behind it is like when you're in the gym and you have like all your training partners and your coaches, it's easy to have the motivation. It's easy to be in the gym, and it's easy not to give up in front of those guys because they're giving you that motivation, and you don't want to, you don't want to fail in front of these guys. Everybody's there, everybody's training hard. But when you're out doing something that's really difficult by yourself, there's only one person keeping you accountable, and I think that's the hardest part is to really keep yourself accountable in those times. So for me, I like to run, I like to ride my bike, and I like to do it really extensively. So that way, I kind of have to fight those inner demons of wanting to quit. Because if I just said, you know what, halfway through my ride or halfway through my run, you know what, I'm just gonna like stop. There's nobody that has to know about that besides me. And um, so I think that's the most important time to really find out what you're made of is to kind of focus on those things and be able to push through when nobody's watching. It's easy to push through when your coaches are watching, when you're on the stage, in the UFC and you're fighting and everything's completely gassed and you're just asking your body for a little bit more. It's easy to keep pushing when everybody's watching and everything's on the line. But if you're by yourself running, 14 miles or riding your bike 60 miles, what's keeping you going? It should be your own motivation and, kind of fighting those inner demons. And for me, that's why I do that.
What's the longest run you've ever done, or the longest biking, cycling session that you've ever done?
I do, kind of extensive, but not, I mean, not necessarily super long, in comparison to some of these ultra marathoner people. Like, I do, uh, recently I've been running around the Red Rock Canyon Loop, and it's like 14 and a half miles, and it takes me about 2.5 hours. Um, but it's a bit more difficult because we're in the Vegas heat. It's the dead of summer, so and I do it like in the middle of the day too. So it's like hovering around 90, 95 degrees, and we've had a lot of monsoon, and like it's monsoon season, but we've had a lot more humidity and precipitation than we usually have. So it's a little bit more humid out, so that makes it a little more difficult as well. But I love it. I enjoy that. And the more difficult I can make it on myself, the better. And so about 14 and a half miles is about as long as I've ran. Riding my bike, I think I've done like a little over like 70, 75 miles in one go. And that was like about 6 hours. So, once you're on a bike for that long, if you're not used to it, if it's not something that you do every day, if you just go out every like week or every couple of weeks and try to do that, it's honestly the worst part about it is just sitting on a bicycle for that long. Like it just, it makes you get sore in places you're not used to getting sore, and you're sitting on this uncomfortable bike seat for a long time. And you can buy pads, and you can buy the little butt pads and a pad for your bicycle seat, but there's only so much you can do. And so I try to do those things, but I try not to overdo it because I'm not getting ready for a marathon or a triathlon. I'm getting ready for a fight. But like I said, the most important thing for me is to kind of build that mental strength from those.
Well, tell me about camp. How has it been in Vegas? Any new training partners or wrinkles to this camp?
Yeah, I usually train with my buddy George Alcala and have him help me get ready for my fights in the sparring sense. Um, but Dawodu is a good kickboxer. My buddy George is more of a wrestler. They're similar in size, but I needed a more of a kickboxer, and so we reached out, and me and Nicholas Mota, who's fighting the weekend after me. He's a 55er in the UFC. We've been helping each other out. I can't remember the guy he's fighting. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy he's fighting is 6'2", more of a jiu-jitsu guy. And then and Nicholas Mota is more of a stand-up kickboxer himself. So we're kind of helping each other out in that sense. I'm built kind of like his guy, and Nicholas is a bit bigger than the guy than Dawodu, but his kickboxing's really good. So it's helping me with dealing with the kickboxing. And if I can get Nicholas down and I can try to grapple him, I think Dawodu is going to be, a little bit easier on the size part. So he's a new thing I've adapted for this training camp specifically because of the kickboxing.
Man, it sounds like the both of you are the perfect training partner for each other's upcoming fights.
Yes, exactly. The guy he's fighting 6'2", jiu-jitsu guy, long, lanky. And so I think we really complement each other well. And so it's always nice when you can find those things. And the good thing about it as well is me and Nicholas don't train hardly at all together. We've just been sparring. So like the problem with like training with somebody for too long is you figure out their tricks, right? So like nothing's a surprise. Things stop becoming a surprise to you. And so just sparring with Nicholas has been great because I don't know. I still don't know like his tendencies. Like if you're training day in and day out, wrestling, jujitsu, drilling, sparring, everything with these guys, you start to really understand their styles and what they get away with and what they can't get away with. And so I think it's better to have it be a little bit more kind of a surprise when I'm sparring. I got to really figure them out on the go. That's how it's going to be in your fight. I can't train with Dawodu before I fight him, so I got to go out there and I gotta be able to adapt to what he's got right out the gate. And so just sparring with Nicholas has been great in that sense as well. We just go in there, we get our 3 rounds, we basically fight each other twice a week. And but it's things are more spontaneous that way instead of training with somebody day in and day out and kind of learning their tendencies.
Before we dive into the matchup here with Dawodu and the style differences between you and him, I want to get a couple of fight picks, but I first want to just start with your take on the featherweight division. Volkanovski, what he did to Max Holloway, I mean, I didn't see it coming. If I'm going to be honest, I thought it was going to be a heck of a lot closer, but he went in there and just put it on him. Like, what do you think he should do next? Should he stick around and fight Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett, or do you feel like, maybe it's time for him to go up to 55?
Yeah, I mean, Obviously with the second fight, everybody thought Holloway should have taken that fight, which I thought as well. So I thought the third fight was gonna be a bit closer. And man, like I love Max Holloway, and and I'm not trying to discredit Volkanovski, but it's just like I felt like Holloway got robbed a little bit the second fight. So there's almost like a little bit of justice if he would have been able to win that fight. But Volkanovski's the truth, man. He came out and he did his thing, and he won the first fight they had. So he legit, like, even if you gave the second fight to Holloway, that's the reason why there was a third fight, because there was so much controversy on the second fight. So even if Holloway won that second fight, Volkanovski, beat him in the rubber match basically, and really solidified himself as a featherweight. I don't want to necessarily say the featherweight GOAT. I think there's other guys that have had a little bit more extensive title reigns. I mean, you got like guys like Aldo and then obviously Holloway as well. But I think Volkanovski's right there. I think a couple more big performances like that, and then he can be considered the GOAT. And then obviously if he moves up and he's done challenges for that belt, and if he wins that, then you really got to give him that status. So I think honestly, he could fight. I think the best thing to do is to fight guys that Max hasn't necessarily fought, because I think if he goes and beats Yair, it's like, okay, you beat Yair, but so did Holloway. Or if you go out and beat Ortega, it's like, okay, well, he already fought Ortega. But like Emmett's a good one. Emmett's a really good one because Holloway hadn't fought Emmett. Cater's another one that Holloway already fought. If Volkanovski fought Cater, it's like, well, okay, if you beat Cater, I mean, yeah, it's still not really pushing you past that point of being a GOAT. But I think Emmett's a good one because he's just new blood. But I think what makes sense is maybe if he says he can stay busy at both featherweight and lightweight and not hold up any of the belts, I think that's a good a good option for him as well.
All right, and obviously UFC 278 is this Saturday. Who wins the main event, Usman, or are we going to have an new or Rocky Edwards?
Man, this is one of the I think the most competitive title fight with a guy. I think they're both on like 10 plus fight winning streaks since their first outing together. And Leon Edwards is just he's so good in what he does, and I think he's a guy that can carry power throughout. I think Usman had a little bit of trouble with a guy like Burns, like had dropped him a couple times in their fight, and I just don't think Burns can hold. I mean, you kind of see him gassed out after he had been successful in that first round. He kind of gassed out. I don't think Leon Edwards is the type to gas out. Then he can kind of carry his power throughout the fight. I think it really comes down to Usman's wrestling. If he wants to take him down and control him, I think he can walk away as still the champion. And I mean, he's pound for pound one of the best, and he's proven over and over and over again that he is the best. And but I do think Leon Edwards does have a good, obviously has a fighting chance as well, and he's a really smart, creative striker. And when they first fought was a long time ago. I think Leon Edwards is a bit bigger now, and he's obviously everybody becomes a better fighter throughout the years. So it'll be interesting to see how he's adapted and how he's leveled up since their first fight, and to see if he can incorporate that and make it closer than most people think.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
But I got to give it to Usman. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think Usman, that's the safe bet right there. Now, again, UFC 279, September 10th. That's your next fight with Hakeem Dawodu. And as far as a main event that's a non-title fight goes, this is about as big as it gets. Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev, you know that the hardcore MMA fans are going to be going nuts. How excited are you to be, on the undercard for such a huge pay-per-view event?
Yeah, it's funny because last time that I fought the T-Mobile Arena, Diaz filled in on 11 days notice and beat Conor McGregor, and it was insane. I lost my fight that night, which sucked, but it was a monumental night of fights, and it was just like one of the things that you just never you won't forget that fight. That was one of those fights that you just you're always gonna remember, and it was just such a big like upset, short notice. Diaz come out and choke him, and it was just like I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. Like that shit will ring for for years and years and years past past the UFC, and so it's just nice to be able to do it again at the T-Mobile Arena, and also I feel like it's it could be a redemption for me as well. The last time I was there, I lost. And so I want to go there and put on a statement for for this fight. But yeah, it's great. It's not a title fight, but I think I'm more excited for it than most title fights because of that. But I think Chimaev Chimaev's supposed to win that fight, but you never know, man. It could become full circle, and Diaz could shock the world again.
Man, I would love to see that if I'm going to be honest with you. Now, I'm equally as excited for your fight with Hakeem Dawodu. Every time you fight, it's must-see TV. You always bring it. The energy's always there. And stylistically, this is such an interesting matchup because, as we said earlier, he's a kickboxer. He's a stand-up fighter, and your stand-up is very good as well. But I feel like you do have a significant advantage if this fight does go to the ground. Is this a case where the smart fight for you, the smart game plan would be to get it to the ground, or do you want to stand in and bang with them?
I think it's always smart to take it to the ground. I mean, we train everything, right? So, but and obviously, Dawadu's strength is in the stand up, and my coach always says, you never want to lose a fight if you don't put it in your A game. If you put it to your A game, especially in the matchup, and you lose the fight, then that guy was better than you that night. But if I went out there and I didn't, try to cause some sort of grappling or wrestling or clinch work, it would be a disservice to myself. Obviously, I mean, if I go out there and I'm, doing well on the feet, then doing well on the feet and I can keep it there. But, if I can get it down to where I feel like it's more of my advantage, in the grappling, and he beats me there, hats off to him. But I think honestly, when you get in there, it's sometimes things just go out the window, right? And I feel like you can see that, even with the Peterson fight, I feel like if I went out there and grappled and wrestled and took him down, and I still think I would have had a huge advantage there. On the feet, you're flipping a coin, man. I felt like I was doing really well, but he still landed some good shots and had me in trouble at one point as well in that fight. So, but like I said, things go out the window, man. I think one of my advantages in the stand up is kind of my ability to just kind of say fuck it and let's just get dirty. I think he's really good when he keeps things clean on the feet. I think if it gets a little dirty on the feet, it can make some of those cleaner strikers a bit frustrated and make them make a little bit more mistakes. And so that's something I got to do. I really have to mix up the wrestling, the grappling, and the striking, but also make it a little dirty. Maybe not get too dirty and not try to throw all caution to the wind because then I'm, I don't want to be too over my skis. And, if he's got power, he lands a good shot, he lands a head kick or something, it could be a quick night, for me as well. So I got to be a bit smart, I think, in the opening. But I think at some point you're going to see a little bit of the Peterson Erosa fight come out in this fight. And I think that's where I take advantage, at least in the stand-up.
Okay. Well, give me your official prediction. How does this end? How are you going to get your hand raised here on September the 10th?
I think it's going to be very similar to the Sean Woodson or a Jourdain fight where I think it's going to be standing for quite a bit. But I think in the third round, I'm either going to, come on strong and get a submission or a TKO.
All right, man. I love it. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be in my man cave watching this one. I wish I could be in Vegas, but it's not going to happen this time. Again, Juicy J, Julian Erosa, back in action September 10th, UFC 279 against Hakeem Dawodu. Julian, always great talking to you, man. Before we do sign off here, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. And if you have anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, obviously on Instagram, Julian_Erosa, Facebook as well. But the easiest way to reach out to me would be on my Instagram. And obviously, I want to thank all my friends, family, fans, any fans, even if you're fans of Hakeem, thank you because I know you're gonna be there watching and supporting us. And obviously, my management. If it wasn't for Iridium Sports Agency and Jason House and everybody over there, I wouldn't be right here. I wouldn't be fighting Hakeem. I probably wouldn't be in the UFC right now. So I got a big shout out to those guys, and they always take care of me with weigh-ins, gear, everything I need. They're there. So huge shout out to them, and then to you as well, Ryan. Thanks for having me on and spreading the word.